In a world full of stories untold, some rise from the dust to touch the stars. Welcome to Naratide, where every story flows with emotion, hope, and truth. Sit back, listen, and let your heart drift with the tide of words. From dusk to dawn, the story of Amara. The sun had barely risen over the rusted rooftops of Kyasima village when Amara woke to the familiar creak of their leaking ceiling. The scent of charcoal smoke and porridge filled the one-room house. Her mother, wrapped in a fading keating, stirred the pot slowly while humming a soft tune of prayer. Her father, bent over his old bicycle repair tools, smiled as Amara prepared for school. "Keep your head high, my girl," he always said, wiping sweat from his brow. "Poverty doesn't define who you are. What you carry inside does." Amara nodded, clutching her frayed notebook and stepping out into the dusty morning, barefoot but unbothered. The path to school was lined with potholes and laughter. Leah, Brenda and Fiona ran to catch up, their voices echoing with the kind of hope only children could carry. They were inseparable. Under the big mango tree behind their crumbling classroom, they whispered dreams about the future. Their future. "One day," Leah would say, eyes sparkling, "we'll build a school so beautiful no child will sit on the floor again. And every kid will get free lunch," Brenda added. Fiona grinned. "And we'll call it Hope Academy, a school built by girls who believed." Amara would just smile quietly. "Let's promise, no matter what happens, we'll do it. Together." They all placed their hands on one another's, a silent pact under the mango tree. But time, as it always does, scattered them like leaves. After their final exams, Leah earned a scholarship abroad. Brenda got a corporate job. Fiona married into wealth and moved to the city. Amara stayed. Her father's bicycle shop barely made enough to buy food, and her mother's health began to wane. Days turned into months of job hunting, rejection after rejection, until reality pressed heavy on her chest. One evening, as she walked home through the narrow alleys filled with laughter of half-clothed children, Amara stopped. She watched a little boy draw letters in the dirt with a stick. Wrong shapes, shaky lines, but bright eyes. "Do you go to school?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "Mama says there's no money." That night, Amara couldn't sleep. The promise they made under the mango tree haunted her. She didn't have money, but she had her heart, her time, and a few books. Maybe that was enough to start. The next morning, she gathered 10 neighborhood children under a mango tree. Not the same one from her childhood, but one that felt just as alive. Her mother watched from the doorway, smiling faintly despite her weak frame. At first, people laughed. "Look at her," they said, "the girl who plays teacher. Does she think she's better than us?" But Amara ignored them. She tore old boxes into writing boards, used charcoal for chalk, and sang the alphabet with her little students until the sun dipped low. Some days, she had to end class early because of rain. Once, a storm blew away all her makeshift materials, and she cried quietly under that same tree. Her father found her there, shivering. "Do you think this is foolish?" she asked. He placed his hand on her shoulder. "Foolishness is giving up on something God put in your heart." Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Slowly, something shifted. A mother brought her child, then another, then 3 more. When Amara ran out of books, her father gave up his bicycle seat money to buy a few used ones from the city. Her mother, though ill, began cooking small meals for the children. They called her Mama Teacher, but hardship didn't relent. There were nights Amara went to bed hungry so her students could eat. Days she sold roasted maize on the roadside just to buy pencils. When her mother's condition worsened, she taught with tears in her eyes, but never missed a lesson. And when her mother passed away quietly one morning, Amara nearly broke. She sat under the mango tree, holding her mother's headscarf, staring at the children waiting for her. She wanted to run away, to stop, to rest. But one of the children, a little girl named Sanyu, tugged at her dress and whispered, "Teacher, you said learning brings light. I don't want the light to go away." Something in those words healed her. The next day, she returned to teach. Time rewarded her persistence. The community began to notice. A local carpenter built wooden desks from leftover timber. A tailor donated fabric for uniforms. Then a church offered her a small shed to use during rainy seasons. When a local journalist covered her story, the girl who teaches under the mango tree, donations began to pour in. People sent books, chalk, even building materials. Soon she had a small classroom, then two. Then an official signboard that read Hope Learning Center. But success brought new challenges. When Amara applied for government funding, officials hinted at bribes. She refused. Progress slowed, but her integrity never wavered. Then came her biggest test. A mysterious fire destroyed half the school one night. She arrived to find charred desks and blackened walls. For the first time in years, she collapsed in tears. Her father stood beside her, old but proud. "You built this from ashes once, you can do it again." And she did. The community rebuilt the school together, brick by brick, heart by heart. Years later, Amara was invited to speak at a national education forum. Her story had spread far beyond Kyasima. Dressed in a simple white dress, she stood before cameras, presidents and business leaders, her voice steady. "I did not build Hope Learning Center alone," she said. "It was built by every child who refused to stop dreaming, every parent who gave what little they had, and every soul who believed that poverty is not the end of the story." She became known as the teacher of hope. Her school grew into many. From one mango tree, a forest of learning had been born. One quiet evening, as she walked through the compound of her newest school, she received a message. Leah, Brenda, and Fiona, the friends who had once shared her dream, wanted to meet. They were sorry, they said. They admired her now. They wanted to reconnect. When they visited, they were stunned by her humility. Leah whispered, "We always knew you were different, Amara." She smiled gently. "Not different, just faithful." They talked for hours, laughter mixed with nostalgia. And though she forgave them, something inside her had changed. The friendship they once had couldn't be reborn. Too much time, too many choices. That night, Amara stood outside, watching the sunset cast gold over the school buildings. The laughter of children echoed in the distance, blending with the rustle of leaves. Her eyes filled with quiet gratitude. She had started with dust, but faith had turned it into dawn. And so, from dusk to dawn, one heart's faith turned a dream into reality. Remember, every story you hear carries a heartbeat, a lesson, a spark to inspire your own journey. If Amara's story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Because on Naratide UG, every tide brings a story waiting to change a life.